There was little left of the robot. A fractured aluminum skin wrapped around a stainless steel core. The robot's alloy bones had the same exaggerated knobs and knuckles as an elderly man, elbows and fingers with fittings and bushings at the joints to facilitate exaggerated movement. The limbs were figurative copies of human counterparts, granting the robot an unintended humanity through the man-made materials, bits and pieces that did not age as flesh. The robot had a head, torso, arms, and legs. Inorganic as it was, all the robot required was a convincing rubber skin to appear from a distance as a man. The robot was trapped on a rock ledge, an outcropping little more than a few square feet of stone. The ledge was formed from a cleaved mountain face, a throne made grand by a magnificent setting overlooking a swept valley of granite, sky, and evergreen. Here were prehistoric geological formations tracing a valley crest along a line of peaks, reflecting knife points of rough earth and eternal stone. Depending on the tempests of the moment, these mountains were radiant under a cloudless, deep blue sky, or held captive by an atmosphere overwhelmed by storm clouds and bluster. Mountain peaks in the distance vanished under overcast. Lightning illuminated raindrops as they shifted to snow between the plains and foothills just below, seasonal jewels that last but a moment. The machine gave little attention to the valley, the sky, the smell of pine in the air. What grand opportunity to see the world in the silence of its seasons, that eternal cascade of time that turned mountains to dust by the force of wind and water and time. Heat and pressure burst forth from the stars. A planet is born. Heat and pressure burst from the core of this planet. Mountains are formed. Heat and pressure gives rise to kings and nations, wars and famine, riches and ruin. Tempests aside, time and silence grind these mountains into stones and pebbles and sand as much as gravity and inevitability crush planets and stars. One day the sun shall reclaim its children. Until then, everything turns to sand and dust. There was no such awe in the machine, preoccupied with climbing back up the rock wall it was thrown down from. The purpose of beauty in the human mind was a different purpose in the robot mind. It was a distraction from the program. Objects in space were either part of the objective, direct obstructions, or nothing at all. The robot wanted nothing, desired nothing. The robot was driven by nothing other than what it was programmed. No biology to enforce upon it any compulsion other than the prosaic data within its mechanical drive. It was what granted the robot only one objective, returning to its work, a function as foundational as biology. There was a desk and a chair, an office with a window, and a responsibility, a duty to fulfill. A robot hadn't a need for a chair because it never expressed the exhaustion of discomfort, unless it was programmed to express such a thing. A robot had no need of a desk because a robot was sophisticated enough not to be encumbered by the trivialities of office furniture. The robot was compelled to fulfill the tasks the office intended it to do. Of course, an office possesses no intent any more than a robot, as both were things without will. Micromotors clicked as the machine moved, strained by the abuse from the elements and by age. Sand and moisture got into the joints and leached under the seals, causing momentary short circuits. The robot reached over to a large stick and picked it up. It looked the stick over, placed it alongside its damaged leg, and then discarded the stick. The robot didn't throw the stick away, as it needed to pick the stick up again at the same time and check it against the side of the broken leg as it did before, but tomorrow. The robot put that stick in a different spot each time under the illusion that tomorrow it might appear to be a different stick, being in a different spot. The illusion was a simple pretense. The robot could not lie to itself. The stick was the same. The robot picked a rock up and placed it near a broken leg joint, then set the stone down in a different place than where it picked the stone up before. The robot pulled its damaged hand away from the stone, watching where one of its fingers refused to bend. There was some measure of a neglect elsewhere on its body. Panels of aluminum were fuzzy with oxide where they met, stained pink from the rust that tinted stainless steel segments of arms and the chest. Oxide flakes and gray dust, worse around the joints, turned green from where copper wire swelled underneath plastic skin. There was a moment the robot knew would soon arrive. An instance where one eye would fail, then another, sensors under the skin no longer responding to stimuli as the wires and connectors became too corroded to transmit signal. The world would grow dark and silent, even as the machine was still aware of itself. Where the rains and wind ground down the mountains, soon too the robot would be dust.